So let me start this off by thanking Mr. Zak Loy for coming into Good Times Universe and on the J. Rose Show. How are you doing, Mr. Zak Loy?
I'm doing really fantastic, man. Thank you for having me. And yeah, everything's great. Can't complain.
You said you can't complain. It got a little foggy there on Zoom.
Yeah, I can't complain, man. Everything is honestly, it's like I'm having a good year this year. So that would have been my very first performance with live. Yeah, that New Year's Eve show, because live we had gotten together, several months before that.
Okay.
And had, because up to that point I'd been playing with Ed, of course.
Yes.
And Ed called me about 6 months or so before that show.
Right.
And he was like, hey man, so me and the boys are talking about getting back together and doing some shows. I was like, oh wow, man, that's insane. Something that, like, honestly, I didn't know if that was ever going to happen, just from my relationship that I had with up to that point, and
it was
like that.
Said, hey, would you like to spend New Year's Eve with live, no performance, just they're going to have some beers with the fans and kind of, have some food and stuff like that. And I was like, of course. I mean, whether they perform or not, it was just so exciting that I would even get an invite to that. And then, like, about 35 minutes before the ball drop, when you guys got on stage, my mind started to be like, oh, wow, this is actually happening. Live is reunited, and my favorite band ever. And I could say that with conviction 100%, because their music has touched me in so many different emotional places. So, and just speak about these guitars that you have in the background. And I guess my first question to you, Mr. Zak Loy, which one on that wall is one of your favorite guitars to play, and why?
Oh man, that it's such a hard question. I like, they're all great and so in their own way, so like the reason why I have so many, and while most of them are unique from the other in some way, even though I think I mostly have Les Pauls,
right,
but each of my Les Pauls, none of them are identical to each other. They're all something different about the configuration, like the pickups or the angle of the body or something, but yeah, I mean, there's a few that, so this Telly over here, that one's a 60, I think it's a 68 Telly.
It almost looks like Ruby Lou, the blue and the
blue one next to it. So this Telly, that's a Paler guitar that a buddy of mine, Paler, yeah, he made here. He's based in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Yeah, this is a 1952 Les Paul, and it's everything on it is pretty much original, besides I changed the bridge on it to give it a little bit more stable bridge on it, and it was repainted in the 60s, because it used to be a gold top, and somebody painted it red in the 60s, which I love. So I'm just
absolutely, you know what I'm saying, the hand-me-down guitars kind of they're broken in. They've been through battle, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then you get to go and do some battle with them. And of course, as a musician, you have to appreciate that rather than something just coming straight off the factory line. I definitely get that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I love guitars that are dinged up a little bit, and things you can look at a guitar and you can question, like, oh, I wonder how that got there. I wonder how that happened. Or, it's like, I wonder, even this guitar, I wonder the story behind the red paint. I mean, red was a really popular color for guitars in the 60s, so everybody wanted a red guitar. So I'm sure this guy was just like, oh yeah, like, oh, I want a red guitar, let me just paint it, And I've gone back and forth between, oh, maybe I should have this one refinished, like the original, but I've left it like this so far. So
yeah, it's beautiful, dude.
Just mainly because it just feels so good to play like it is, so.
Dude, you are so let me ask you this, Zak. What age were you when you first picked up the guitar? I'm sure that's probably a question you would know, and kind of what drew you to become a musician?
It's kind of like I woke up, and for some reason, Wild Thing was like playing over and over in my head.
Nice.
But the Jimi Hendrix version, so, and I was about 8 years old. And it's funny to think, like, like I probably didn't even really realize that it was Jimi Hendrix, but you know, I knew the song. Both of my parents were big music lovers, so huge record collection and always playing music all the time. Basically, so I ran into my parents' bedroom and I was like, "You guys have to buy me a guitar." And you know, being an 8-year-old kid, they're like, you know, I was like totally like hyper freaking out. Like, I just like, you guys, you don't understand. Like, I need to have a guitar. And they were like,
energy was like shining through you, I guess.
Right. It was great. Yeah. So they were like, man, calm down. It'll be all right. Like, you know, we'll talk about this, you know? So 94, in 94, when I turned 12 years old, it was just such a huge year for rock music. And you know, that era there's so many great records that came out. And, you know, so me kind of just starting to kind of get good. Awesome. Starting to get good at guitar and all those great records coming out. I was just absorbing everything and learning everything, you know? So, and then I just couldn't really put it down, and it's been the same way ever since. You know, I think about the moments when I can just sit down and play guitar, you know, constantly throughout the day.
Yeah, my aunt said it the other day. When you do something that you love and have passion for it, even though it is a job, it never feels that way. You know what I'm saying?
Never,
So even something that,
yeah.
Even though it's something that could provide you a living and stuff like that, you just get so much joy from it and so giddy and excited to do it that it's almost like you're having so much fun. How could you possibly consider it work? But technically, it really, you know, you get on stage, you have to be there at a certain time. It's technically like you're clocking in. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Absolutely. And, you know, it's one thing that just kind of continuously makes it so inspiring as a career is the fact that you only have 12 notes to work with, but they consist. I mean, you can there's an endless landscape of how to put those together, and even on the guitar, I don't know everything about the guitar, and you know, I constantly am learning genres, you know, experiencing different genres and learning other guitar players' techniques that are in different genres than mine, and it's a continuously growing of my everyday life, and just the ability to put songs together and really, just like I said, have an endless landscape of music to work with. I mean, it's like rock stuff, you know. So when I got the acoustic guitar, it helped me in the fact that you know, it helped build up my finger strength and helped me kind of learn the principles of the instrument.
Right.
And then I got an electric guitar a year or so later after I didn't play an acoustic, and you know, kind of like basically opened up all kinds of abilities, you know, because I was like, oh, finally, like, you know, when you're learning, you don't even know how to get, like, how does he get that grungy, distorted sound? I don't know how he does that, you know, and then when you just, like, blows your mind, and then it kind of continuously goes on from there. I mean,
right.
Like I said, like, that stuff happens to me even now, you know. It's like, oh, wow, I figured this out. That's really cool. And kind of, it's like, it's just so much fun and never ending. You know? When I discover new guitar players too, that I get attached to, you know, it's the same thing. It's just like, wow, they, you know, any guy that can kind of like bring some originality to the instrument, it's really super cool like that, you know.
Dude, your dog is adding harmonic background, so please don't let it. I mean, it's absolutely perfect, dude. She's got a nice little bark to her for real.
yeah, she sure does.
Let me ask you this, Zach. Do you know if November 6th is going to be able to happen? I hear you guys are playing in South Africa at the Sun Arena, and I don't know if they're going to be able to turn that into like a drive-in scenario or kind of what the thought.
You know, I mean, my insight on it is, as far as I know, I mean, so right now the shows are still on. You know, we have.
Oh, and I know that's far away. I didn't know if, of course, definitive answer we're making. I was just asking a question. You know.
No. I mean, honestly, like, I mean, I think all of us are, you know, we're all up in the air. You know, it's like as far as our thoughts, like all we know is like it's like okay, so we have these shows, they're still confirmed,
Right.
and they're still on the books, but I mean, stuff changes so drastically on a daily basis with this whole dynamic and like how people are supposed to respond to it, and you know, like all the information that we're getting fed as a society, as you know, it's like okay, so we have this information, and then we get more information tomorrow, and then we get information that contradicts that information. You know, I'm not sure how to move forward with this whole performance thing, you know,
You know,
or how it's all going to
Metallica's
work
coming
out.
up with a little bit of a way where they're doing like this virtual concert
Yeah.
series. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Um, not,
yeah.
not to switch gears here, but you kind of just mentioned something about Ed Kowalczyk, like actually getting into the crowd. And when you
Yeah.
guys opened in Atlantic City at the Hard Rock, well, you didn't
Hmm.
open. I'm saying Bush opened, but then you guys were headlining. Ed Kowalczyk
Yeah.
started off with the Damn It Otter Creek, and he was just walking through the crowd singing, and I was like, wow, I'm normally seeing him do this on stage, and he's just walking through the crowd nonchalantly. And even though the fans were blown away, like they weren't overly like clinging on to him and doing like all these kind of crazy things you see, like when mosh
Yeah.
pit started off like that. He was just nonchalantly walking through and making the way through, and it was an absolutely like mind blowing to see,
Yeah.
especially after Bush came on for about what you would say about an hour and 15 and kind of just like rock the house out. And then you're like, okay,
Yeah.
so Bush is just did this, and now here comes Ed Kowalczyk just strolling through. And then once
Yeah.
that Damn It Otter Creek starts kicking in, and he jumped on stage, and you were just rocking out. I was like, I feel at home right now, and I am in the Hard Rock in Atlantic City, and it was just absolutely probably one of my top two concerts that I've seen live did. The only one that is more special in my heart is the first one I ever saw them do, because it was my first live concert. Their music just means so much to me. So when I see you as the newest member of the band just fit in, and I'm saying to myself, how does he fit in with these guys that grew up and went to grade school, and you make it look effortless, and you treat all the fans with so much respect, and I could just tell the joy you get when you just click up on there and you start rocking out, and Ed Kowalczyk will say, Mr. Zak Loy, go ahead and take over. Like I've heard him say that before, and you just walk up to the front of the stage and you start getting your jam going. Dude, it's
Yeah.
gotta be the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah, man. I mean, it is. There's nothing else like it in the world. I mean, there's nothing that comes to it. Not, I mean, writing music and being in the studio is it's just an awesome aspect of the creation process. But I mean, there's no personally it impacts you so rapidly on an emotional level as a live show. You know, so like you know, it's just really instant sparks of energy and emotion, and consistently swirling around because the other members that are you know putting this wall of music together with you, they're all having those same reactions, but maybe at different points. So it's really like just electricity that's kind of like swirling around, and it's just